Am I the jerk for waiting outside because I didn't obey my sister about the keys? I have a rather complicated relationship with my sister. We currently live with my mother, who's on vacation, so it is just the two of us. This morning we were supposed to go to the beach together. We were supposed to go at 1:00 p.m., and we had agreed to go out at that time. My sister came into the room when my alarm went off. She said my name in an annoyed way, as she was going to remind me of the time we would be at the beach. I answered what in the same tone, and we had a big fight. My sister yelled at me for 10 minutes, saying that I was being disrespectful, that she was my big sister, and that I should speak to her properly. I stayed very calm because I am used to her freaking out on me. She kept yelling. I had enough, so I told her I was not going to the beach with her anymore. She went to bring her friend, who was supposed to come with us. She told me to get dressed because we were going, and I reminded her that I was not going with her. In front of her friend, she tried to give another version of the story and kept shouting at me. I did not answer so as not to escalate. I got dressed to go out on my own. She told me to take the keys since we just have one for us. I said okay. When it was time to go out, she pulled a face and continued to be unpleasant. I had enough, so I left with the keys and told her just to pull the door shut, which we do sometimes since we live in a safe area. She ran behind me to the outside and took the keys while yelling at me. I told her okay, in that case, leave the keys in the letterbox, but she wanted me to go back and lock the door. I refused. Later, I saw 4 missed calls from her. Her friend also sent me a message saying they were looking for me to give me the keys. I told her to leave them in the mailbox. I did not answer the calls because I was on the phone with my mother. Then, I got honked at in the car and I saw it was her. She yelled, looked very angry, and told me to come and get the keys. I ignored her, as I did not want to hear her screams and let her make another scene. I went for a walk and came back home. Obviously, there were no keys. I texted her to ask where she was, but she was far away, and I did not have a car. She said it was all my fault, but I do not think I should be verbally abused. I am fed up with her constant bullying. Now, I am crying on the stairs of my building, waiting for her to come home, probably in no less than 3 hours. I feel a bit stupid, even if I cannot tell myself that all this is my fault. Why did she not just leave the keys in the mailbox? She wanted to be right, and so did I. This is the result. You are not the jerk. You did hurt yourself by not getting the keys from her car, but dealing with her verbal negativity was just too much. It sounds like the complicated relationship with your sister reached a breaking point. Hopefully, this incident can lead to some much-needed conversations and boundaries. Am I the jerk for sharing my opinion about my best friend's relationship? The other day, my friends, who are 20 years old, and I, who am 20 years old, went out for the evening to catch up. Lexi was talking about her boyfriend Owen, who is 20 years old. She often does this, but he is great, and I am glad to listen if it makes Lexi happy. Lexi deserves the best, and I am so glad she has found it with Owen, whom she is planning on marrying in the next 2 to 4 years. They are doing long distance at the moment and rarely have the opportunity to see each other in person. Things can get a bit tricky, and Lexi will often come to Maya and me to vent when she is frustrated. Lexi was frustrated that during her phone call with Owen the previous night, he spent almost the entire call, more than 5 hours, on the game, and they did not have a conversation. This is a totally fair thing to be annoyed about. I told Lexi this after her 5 to 10 minute rant, but also asked if she had asked Owen to have a conversation or told him that she wanted more intentional attention rather than passive quality time, just being in each other's presence. I also said that Owen is not only long distance from Lexi, but from everyone in his life, including the friends that he plays video games with. This might be how he is trying to juggle their new relationship alongside his other long-standing friendships. She did not like this answer and wanted to change the subject because Maya and I were not taking her side. I did not interpret this as a Lexi versus Owen situation and tried to say that I was on her side because communicating with Owen could possibly aid in solving the turmoil she was experiencing and thus make her feel better loved and seen. She was still upset with me and made a comment about how I have a lot of opinions for someone who has never been in a relationship before and then changed the subject. Later on in the evening, she brought up Owen again, and neither Maya nor I responded. She made a comment somewhat along the lines of, "Thanks for having an opinion. Really appreciate it, y'all." This is where I snapped a little and said, "Why would I give you my opinion when 20 minutes ago you said I didn't deserve to have one?" She immediately got defensive for my putting words in her mouth, which to some extent I did, but that is how I interpreted her earlier comment and was still feeling a bit sore about it. I admittedly was a bit standoffish on the way back to the car before Maya told us to kiss and make up, which we did, but I'm still feeling a bit off. I find myself feeling guilty for minimizing Lexi's emotions, but also hurt that she would make that comment. In the past, even just the day prior to this event, she told me how grateful she is for my advice and how I am usually pretty spot on when it comes to stuff with Owen too. In this event, it was also true because after our hangout, she took my advice and it went well. I am worried that I am overstepping and am not sure how to go forward since saying something makes her upset and saying nothing also makes her upset. Am I the asshole for giving her my advice? It sounds like Lexi was looking for affirmation rather than advice. Sometimes saying something like, "I can understand why you're frustrated," can go a long way in these situations. She may not be ready to hear constructive feedback, especially when emotions are high. It's a tough spot to be in, but finding a balance between empathy and honesty might help. Am I the jerk for uninviting my friend on a trip that led to the end of our friendship? I, a 21-year-old female, had a girls' trip that my friends and I had planned for months. My friend, a 22-year-old female, and I, let's call her Kayla, have been best friends since we were little, probably since the age of 5. We were very close and had a lot of love for each other. I considered her one of my best friends until she started treating me differently. She became extremely self-involved, and whenever she had a boyfriend in her life, it was as if I did not even exist to her. As of 2 years ago, my mother was battling breast cancer. I had talked to Kayla multiple times about the beginning of my mother's cancer treatment and the overall journey, and she gave me the bare minimum. A few weeks later, I was with some of my friends, and I started to talk about what was going on at home and how stressful everything was. She looked at me and said, "What? I didn't know your mom had cancer. Why is this the first I'm hearing of it?" I thought, what the actual hell? So I told her very firmly that I have talked to her about this on multiple occasions. A few days later, I confronted her about how hurt I was and how I needed her to put continual effort into this relationship for it to continue. She answered, saying she was sorry and that she would try harder. This was the first of many events that made me start to question our friendship. Over the next 2 years, she never asked me how I was. She was never there for me when I needed her, and when we hung out, all we ever talked about was her and what was going on in her life. She only ever asked to see me when she needed something. I started to give less as this relationship was clearly a one-way street. Kayla was initially invited on this trip well in advance, about 7 months prior. Although we were going through a rough patch, I had decided that maybe this would bring us closer together. My other friends and I were actively planning it and getting all the details together. We were figuring out all the details, costs, dates, time off work, and places. I would actively ask Kayla if she still wanted to come on this trip, and she would leave me with unanswered questions or just shrug it off. Fast forward to a few days before we leave, I tell her that we are going on this trip without her because she could not give me a straight answer. And I hope that there are no hard feelings moving forward. She flipped out and called me selfish and inconsiderate, asking how I could possibly think that she would still want to be friends with me after pulling something like that. We had a huge argument, and I told her how I have been feeling regarding our friendship. She completely lost it and told me that she has always been there for me and that I ruined our friendship because of this. This was 2 weeks ago, and I have now gotten back from my trip and have not talked to her since. I have tried reaching out and having a conversation, but she has blocked me on everything. Am I the asshole? Should I have tried harder? Nothing you have done here makes me think you are the jerk here. You're done. She's done. Just walk away from it. Let her be. She subconsciously or even consciously let go of the friendship long before now. You knew it wasn't going to be good when you uninvited her. Come on. Am I the jerk for not paying for the bride's children to attend the bridal shower? One of my friends from college is getting married next month. It is her second marriage, but this time she is really in love and has found an amazing guy. My friends and I are all extremely happy and excited for her. I felt honored when she asked me to be one of her 6 bridesmaids. I do not live in the same state as the bride, but we are all on the East Coast. I have not worked consistently since March and was unable to attend the bachelorette party, which was in the Southwest. Another bridesmaid and I did not attend the bachelorette party, but we did contribute to the Airbnb cost and the cost of the bride's massage. When our friends decided to pay for the Airbnb for an extra day so they could check in early, we also contributed to that cost. They even sent me a text requesting $11 to cover one meal for the bride and another text for $20 to cover a different meal for the bride during the trip. We also pitched in both times. The bridal shower brunch is coming up and will take place in the state where the bride resides. I am traveling for the bridal shower and volunteered to take the lead on games for the event, which equals the cost of materials for 4 bridal shower games. One of the bridesmaids informed our group that the bride would like her 2 children, aged 18 and 10, to attend the bridal shower brunch. The maid of honor offered to cover the cost of one child, which is $60. The bridesmaid who shared the request asked if anyone else wanted to pay for the other child. I love the bride's children, and whenever I visit, I give them gifts because they are great kids. However, I am paying for my travel to the bridal shower and wedding. I feel financially tapped out and said I cannot pay for one of the children. One of the bridesmaids asked if we can split the cost, which would be $12 each to cover the child, and I said no. Am I the asshole for not chipping in $12? Would I be the asshole for not having cash prizes for the bridal shower games? The maid of honor keeps asking me about prizes for the games, but I think the guests should accept bragging rights. The bride can pay for her own kids if she wants them to attend the bridal shower brunch. It's wild to expect others to cover that cost, especially during a cost of living crisis. Weddings are already expensive enough as it is, and adding more unnecessary expenses just puts more pressure on everyone involved. Drawing boundaries here is a good idea to avoid feeling overwhelmed or stressed about needing to be more frugal. Am I the jerk for telling my mother the truth about her DNA father? 8 years ago, I took an ancestry DNA test and discovered that the father who raised me was not my biological father. With help from a cousin I found on Ancestry, I learned that my biological father was a man from Texas who had an affair with my mother. They had a one-night stand, and I was the result. My mother and the father who raised me knew the truth my whole life and never told me. The father who raised me died when I was 15. My mother intended to keep this secret from me and was angry when I told her I was taking the DNA test. To complicate matters, she left Mexico with me when I was a baby and never registered my birth with the civil registry, so I did not have a birth certificate. After lots of therapy and time, I finally accepted the situation and forgave her for keeping the secret. 3 years ago, I convinced my mother to take a 23andMe test to uncover any health issues. My mother left her family before I was born and has not seen or spoken to them my whole life. I am currently 44 years old, so we have no health information or family history. When she took the test, we discovered that the man on her birth certificate was also not her father. Her mother had an affair at some point. I kept this secret from her until last February, when I felt it was time she knew the truth. I did not want to be like her and keep the secret. She came to my house for lunch, and I told her. After she left, she decided to block me on her phone. About a week ago, I asked my husband to call her to see if she wanted any souvenirs since we were in Mexico City. She went on a tirade about how she wanted nothing to do with me because she believed I was trying to ruin her life. When my husband asked about how I was going to get my birth certificate, it can be done retroactively. She said that it was my problem, and I would have to figure it out on my own. This is not possible because she is still alive. The part I am struggling with is that it does not really matter. Her parents are deceased, and she does not plan to have contact with her siblings. I have made no attempt to contact anyone on 23andMe to get information about the family, as that was her wish. I only wanted to share what I found so that she would know the truth. Have I ruined her life? Am I the asshole? You caught her in an embarrassing situation, and she doesn't know how to respond. Who knows if she'll turn it around and start talking to you, but in the meantime, live your life and move forward. Secrets are only bad because we keep them secret, and research shows that non-biologically related families are happier and healthier when everything is open. Your actions were justified. Am I the jerk for comparing someone to my younger sibling? A while ago, my girlfriends and I went out and met a group of guys whom we used to hang with a few years ago, but not anymore. One is an ex of my best friend, and this story is about him. They were together for a few months when she was 15 to 16 years old, and he was 18. He never liked me for some reason, even though we rarely spoke. On my side, it's genuine indifference while his seemed to be actual dislike. I only spoke to him if my friend was involved, like telling him where she was or if she had finished class. Even others told him to chill and that it's odd how he acts because I never talk about him. I was 14 to 15 years old at the time, so it's weird that he was 18 beefing with a kid and is still mad, but I do not care. Fast forward to now, the topic of cleaning came up. I said that in my family we clean our home every 2 weeks. We wash the floors and clean everything thoroughly. Each of us kids wash the floors and clean our rooms. When done, we help my mom clean the balcony and the rest of our apartment. My dad helps, but he has heart problems and can't exhaust himself too much. My friends know my little brother, so they asked if he helps or just sits while my baby sister, who is 13 years old, and I do everything. I said no, my mom makes us all clean. The ex said it's dumb, that his mom never made him clean, and that she just hired a cleaner or did it herself. I said that not everyone has money for a cleaner. His family is kind of rich. Mine is middle class. My brother knows it's helping mom, and it's not very common for boys his age to get up and clean, but mine does. He's a clean boy in general. He showers daily and isn't stinky. His room is fairly clean except for a few empty bottles and snacks, which is actually normal. After I insisted that it's normal for my brother to clean and that he also doesn't mind, the ex started calling him names. I do not know the translation from my language, but it's like calling a boy a chick or wuss and similar stuff. I got protective of my brother and told the ex if he thinks that my brother being clean makes him a chick, then it's embarrassing for him. I listed what I said above about my brother being fairly clean compared to other boys his age and the ex. I also said that he's embarrassing for always having beef with kids at his big age. He used to talk crazy about me when he was 18 and I was 15. He basically admits that a 16-year-old boy is cleaner than him, which is embarrassing too. I added that my chick brother is not only cleaner but girls actually like him. A girl even came to him and flirted with him too, and he isn't struggling unlike the ex-boyfriend. So if anything, he should go get advice from the chick, my brother. The ex got mad and said I'm dumb for calling him dirty, and that my little brother is doing better than him, and that my kind is not the same. I said my little brother is better than him. The ex didn't respond, but it was clear I struck a nerve. I don't care if I'm the asshole, maybe for bringing up the fact that he can't pull girls when my brother can. In my opinion, you have done nothing wrong here. Everyone should help their family clean the house in which they all live, regardless of race and social class. Not only is this guy behaving entitled, but he also seems to be lacking some social skills that your brother has developed, such as how not to insult others to feel superior. It sounds like he's a reject in his own age group and is taking it out on you guys. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.